Hey, you guys, welcome back to Art School Graduate. This is season 2. And so with one of my guests today is Scott Kinney, aka Scott Skinny. There's a funny story behind that, but I'm so excited to have Scott on this podcast with me today. He's a craftsman. He's an artist. He's just a custom maker. Like, there's nothing that this man can't seem to make. So let's welcome Scott to the show, you guys. This is Scott.
Yeah, what's up, Justin? Thank you, man. I appreciate it, dude. Thanks for reaching out. I'm excited to jump on this with you, dude.
I appreciate you, man. So we were talking beforehand about kind of like your very distinctive style of how you create. And I was just wondering, let's just jump right into the meat of it, the conceptualizing of these pieces that you come up with. And if you're watching this on YouTube, but if you can't see it, you'll see right over his shoulder, you see this, I don't know, it looks like a lion, bear, soccer ball mixture. Can you just break that down for us right there?
Yeah, man. It is a lion, so that's a good catch right there.
Okay.
And it is a lion made out of 3 different soccer balls, 2 from Nike and then 1 from Baden. And it's kind of, these pieces are part of an overarching series that's kind of like my foundation of like where I kind of sprungboard off of. And it's the ARC series, which there's a lot of meaning behind that. One of the big parts being that like the concept of Noah's Ark and all the animals of the world. And it tying pretty directly to soccer, which many consider the world sport, the World Cup, right, the most watched sporting event in the world. And the concepts pretty much also tying into just the never-ending material or medium of using soccer balls. Every year, Nike, Adidas, Umbro, Puma, new soccer ball, new design, multiple tiers. So while I love making, pretty much anything and everything from functional art to furniture to architectural design, that I could really just stay in this world of making these art pieces and grow older and more green than I am now and still not exhaust the medium, which is super awesome. And so that's kind of like just kind of basic of the ARC series. They're a little bit just kind of whatever suits my fancy, and they're fun to make, they're big fun.
Yeah. So I'm curious now, are these real animals? Like, are you making these? Like, how are we getting to the point where I'm looking at a lion with sharp teeth over your shoulder? Like, how are we getting to this point?
Yeah, man. So no, I don't. No animals are harmed, right? Like, okay. I love animals. They're amazing creatures. And that's kind of like why people hunt them in general, right? Like, yeah. I don't want to hunt them, but I make them. It's a trophy. Also tying back into the world of sports, right? But like, right. Really, these pieces, they're made out of foam underneath. So if there's, when I'm grabbing an animal or thinking of a piece that I want a specific animal for, I'll look first for like a prefabbed taxidermy form. Gotcha. Bears, deer, something that's hunted regularly, like that actual taxidermists use.
Yeah.
It allows me to spend my time focused on more of the details instead of the general sculpting, because they're already made. But like for animals that are not necessarily like common taxidermy animals, like for a piece I made some pieces for MLS last year, right, and they were eagles, and you don't like you can't really hunt eagles. Well, I'm right. Sure felony, but why I pretty much had to make that one from scratch, and that's what I do on the pieces. It's like a metal form or a wire form, something that's kind of a skeleton more or less, and then filled in with foam and then carved to the shape. The only thing I don't make is at all are these teeth right here. They are plastic reproductions of actual, this one. Just because mixing bone and real other materials doesn't always play nice. So
right,
with the plastic fake ones, and they've done me well on this.
I believe it, dude, because I was about to say, man, Imagine seeing that and it falls. Oh my goodness, that would be terrifying. I'd be crushed if one of those teeth broke and it was a real tooth. That would
Right.
be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned the MLS. So how did that project happen? When I saw it on your Instagram, I was like, my man is world renowned now. He's made it to the MLS. You hit the MLS stage on any platform, everybody's going to be looking for you and wanting to know. So I'm just curious, how did that project come about right there?
Yeah, man. I mean, well, thank you. I don't know if I'm world renowned yet. You know, I'm always shooting for that, right? But like,
Speaking into existence, my brother.
yeah, I'll take it. But yeah, no. So that kind of came about. One of those like artist friends working with MLS on a whole completely different project.
Right.
You know, mention, you know, this person knows this person knows this person. All right, here's your guy for this. And so last year, so 2023 was the first year I worked with them. I worked with them again for this 2024 All-Star game as well. But really where it started was they were looking for gifts for the team owners that were participating in the All-Star game for that year. And it so happened that year, in 2023, it was hosted by DC United in Washington, D.C. And so that's really all the information that I got to start. So with that, I just did my research. You know, I'm a big MLS follower already. I knew who DC United was. They were playing Arsenal, which is a big European team.
Yeah.
For all our soccer fans following us, I'm not a gunner, but anyway, so I kind of just came up with a couple of concepts and just pitched it to them. And I was like, hey, like, this is the timing you given me. This is what we could do. You know, like, does this fit your budget more or less? And they were like, yeah, like, let's go. Can you make 7 of them? And I was like, okay.
You're like, one is easy, but 7, sure,
yeah.
Sure.
And that was like a big change for me, because typically I don't make multiples of the pieces. It's just too hard to get them exactly the same. It's a big puzzle that doesn't like has custom cut pieces, so it's like almost impossible. So I just like let them know. I was like, hey, these are gonna be like a series more or less, right? Of Eagles, and everyone ended up being different. So ended up just making all 7, made some custom crates for them to live in, plaques for them to mount to. Tried to go all out on it to just, you know, like wrap it up in like a nice pretty package and say, hey, here you go. This is what you get when you talk to Kinney about art. And I think it did me a solid, because they hit me up again this year and we're like, hey, we don't have as big as budget, but we still want to use you. And they were super happy with how everything turned out. And then again, you know, make something for them completely different this year, which was great. Like, it's kind of fun, like being able to make different things still. Soccer balls as a court component. But yeah, even when I walked in and delivered them this year, they were like, oh yeah, you made the Eagles last year. And it's like, I haven't met any of you guys. And
I don't know who you are.
Yeah, but they remembered it. So it was pretty dope, man. Like I feel very blessed to be able to do that. And we've been talking about some more projects potentially for Leagues Cup and his All-Star game. So we'll see.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, did they tell you to choose the Eagle, or did they give you kind of full like creative control? Like, yo, we want something. We don't know what it's going to look like, but we're trusting that you can do it.
Yeah, that was it. They were like,
those are the best. Those are the best people.
Yeah, we need gifts for people. And I was like, okay. How big? That was like the first question. I was like, where are these going? Right. Cause like as an artist, you want to know like, where are these going to end up? Like, I don't want to just like create this massive thing and then it's going to,
no one takes it.
Yeah. So, once we kind of nailed down like the parameters of everything, I just was like, yeah, being in DC, I think an eagle would be phenomenal. One, it's the DC United emblem. Right. It's a national bird. We're in the national capital. Like, it's a no-brainer, and they enjoyed that concept, and so we were playing against Arsenal, which was again in a European team, and just kind of one of the awards went to Arsenal owner, and so now he's got an eagle sitting up on his office, so kind of get to
my man's international now. Put some respect on his name. He's International Kinney. Yeah. All right. That is amazing. So this is crazy, but how's your inner child being able to explore, like you're still in soccer. You're technically not playing it, but you're still in it. How's that inner child feeling knowing that you got to be in DC for that game? You got to give a piece to one of the most legendary football clubs. Like, how is that happening for you right now?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I got chills just talking about it. Again.
I could tell, man. You're excited.
It's kind of mind-boggling, right? Like being an artist, like you start out like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do all this, and then you kind of get hit in the face after you graduate, and you realize like it's hard making art like outside of a like isolated area. And me and you have talked about this in the past, right? Like real life hits, like how do you manage it, right? But so moments like this, where especially the first one of these being made at the time, it was 10 years ago. So 10 years to MLS, or close to 10 years, like nine years. Like seeing that full circle was pretty epic, man. And like I proposed to my wife in front of the first one I made, which was the mayor, and then she got to come to DC with me like for this event. So like that was just like pretty epic, dude. And then just to be able to constantly make anything, man, like I love it, dude.
Yeah, dude, that's so beautiful that you get to like your wife, who was your girlfriend, to see you do this full journey. I know she's proud, but that's an amazing kind of like cool story for when the kids get grown. You can just be like, hey, your mom was there for everything. I'm telling you guys right now, get you a good one, because this was not easy.
Yes, 100%.
Yes. But so let's turn the page a little bit. So I've noticed something else that you've been a part of, and we have to talk about it. It was, what was it? All the rave, probably still is the rave. This Barbie Dream House. Scott, how are you? You are Paul Bunyan and his blue buffalo man out here at a Barbie Dream House challenge. How did that happen? Let's go through that. That's amazing to hear.
Yeah, man. That was insane in a whole different world. Like this beer doesn't really scream Barbie in general. No. But that's one of the fun things about like also being in construction and working with, and designing and stuff like that. Working with HGTV, that's what the Dream House Challenge was for, is for a show for them. Being a part of the design and the construction team for that, and running that entire show, working with 20 different HGTV stars.
Wow.
Helping them figure out how to get these projects done. Dude, it was a blast, man. It was like, it's something that I'll never again get to do. And it definitely like felt like I was making a ginormous piece of functional art. Like,
really?
Yeah. The house that was an actual house that like you and me could live in. It was 4,000 square feet, and we put a Barbie handle on the top that you could like lift up, and it was
you did it
right into the roof. Like
you guys made like a toy open Barbie house.
Yes. Yes.
Scott, what in the world? So creatively, how did this? I just need to know creatively. Who drew that and was like, we're making this? I know there's probably wilder stuff that was added to it, but who was just like, this house needs a handle?
Yeah. That was part of being with HGTV. They have their design team, and I worked with them on Extreme Makeover, on Build, on Help Wreck My House. It's been the same designer that I've luckily been able to work with.
Yeah.
excuse me, and she's amazing. And so it's definitely a collaborative effort, but I think that's where the ideas are like, they're in the world of architectural and design, right?
Yeah.
I come from a background of like obviously sculpture, so I'm like, well, hey, I mean, how crazy would it be if like we actually made this like a kid's Barbie house, but in real life? And so that just kind of sparked the conversation to like, okay, how do we achieve that? And so it was just like spitballing ideas, and a lot of them stuck, right? Like if you watch it, there's the front yard's got flamingos that shoot water out when you walk underneath them. Inside there's an elevator, like there's this,
wow,
it's crazy, man. Like, and so
right.
that like being able to like be part of the conceptualizing for like what does a functional Barbie house look like, that was a blast, man. And it definitely took me out of like what I'd like to do. It stayed in the color scheme, like pink,
right,
purples, neons. I mean, those are soccer colors, like I'm
right.
But how to realistically tie in safety, a functional house that someone can live in and someone's eating and used for the show. But then also like getting it to make it sense within the TV show, man, it's just crazy. It's just like, it's just a whole different world, man.
That's interesting. So what do you think was your biggest challenge working in something like this?
On Barbie, the biggest challenge for me was actually not being able to fabricate myself. To come up with drawings, designs, and hand them off
to get approval
to people to make them based off of drawings. Like I was like because I was a bigger part of the design and the conceptual, and then over all of the actual construction at the time. Like those plans, those designs were handed off to fabricators. And so that was probably my biggest, because they would come to me and say, well, how do we finish this? And I'd have to like, without building it myself, be able to pass it off to them and get them to achieve the level of craft and design that I would normally
want. Yeah.
That's associated with my work that I do, but it's being done by someone else. I'd say that was probably the hardest part. And not letting TV stars mess it up.
You got to watch out for them because they get paid the big checks to act like they're doing something, but we know what's really happening. Yeah. So let's tie this one up. But I just want to know how did working on this project like influence like your future projects or anything else? Like what did you draw from this that would be like, okay, you know what, I did this before, I don't know if I want to do this again, but I did like something, I like this approach. Like was there anything like that like helped influence you that you'll be like, you know what, I can take from this, I can probably use this again?
Yeah. Honestly, I think the biggest thing was like understanding that even other creatives and like artistic people don't think sculpturally. And so
what do you mean by that?
So like they might understand theory and design and have great ideas, but like bringing in the sculptural component where you're dealing with gravity and like physics and real stuff, and how things will fit together three-dimensionally.
Yeah.
It's even hard for them to pick up on. So taking that, I've realized that like when I'm pitching designs and making stuff, being more articulated in those nuances, so they can understand it. Because most of the time I'm not working with creative people on stuff. Got
it.
Yeah. CEO or owner or whatever, and so they're not creative.
Oh, wow.
I won't say at all, but like mostly not creative.
Got it. Okay.
So I think that's like the biggest lesson learned that I took away from Barbie, and just like it's dude, it's just a blast making random
Pink
stuff.
stuff. Random
Yeah.
pink stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. So now that you're in this world of HGTV and these different projects that you've worked on, what I think one was Extreme Home Makeover, a 96-hour home builder edition. I don't know who slept. I don't know when you found time to sleep, but like working in these fast-paced projects, what are some of the pros and cons that you kind of were like, because I know your craftsmanship brain and your artist brain are kind of in conflict, because you're very much like, craftsman is like, I need this to be right. But your artist brain is like, oh, this is fun. Oh, this is fun. So I know you probably had that fight, but like in such a fast paced, like job, like
Yeah.
how did you manage that? How did that work with you?
Honestly, man, it was like leaning on what I knew I could accomplish. Like, and that's where I've really seen like the growth and utilizing all the different mediums that I typically work on, like just mixed media in general, right? Like being a mixed media artist,
Right.
having exposure to the 10s, 20s, 30s, different materials that I've worked with, how they connect, how they fit, time it takes to fab with them. I just leaned heavily on that and was just very upfront of just like what you want, what they want done with what the finish they have can't be done. It's got to be done this way. If you want, high level craft in a certain aesthetic.
Got it.
And that's really what it was, man. It was just like, because you couldn't skimp on it either. You're right. We built a house from demo to brand new, 3,500 square feet in 96 hours. And there was a ton of people on it, right? Like, we had over 250 people working on it 24/7. So it was insane. And I think that like catered to like the artist side of me of just like, let's go, like light it
yeah.
But like really the craftsman side and like craftsmanship and quality versus needing to get this done in 12 hours, which normally takes 20 hours,
right,
was really just like, okay, I know I can do this in this. That's what we're going to do. And then tweaking it to make sure that the aesthetic fits what the overall design was.
So did you run into any complication with like balancing the speed and craft? Because I know those are two very polar opposites. Like if you have, not craft, forgive me, quality, speed and quality. Like if you have good quality, you obviously didn't go fast. But if you have poor quality, we know you went fast. So what strategy did you use to balance those two like major things in this kind of world of building?
Yeah. A lot of it depended on what I knew I needed to have done for camera, like camera to film, and what I knew I could follow up after those pieces were done to finalize the quality. Like, if that makes sense. I would focus on getting it to the point, getting projects to the point very quickly where it looked from camera complete or pretty close. Because in reality, camera doesn't ever like zoom super on the details because no one cares. You've only got 48 minutes of actual showtime. No one's going to look at a dovetail joint or, how things piece up. Right. So that's typically how I balance it when I'm doing shows like that is like, okay, what do we need to do to get it ready? And then what can I come back to? Because the craziest part of this whole thing is like, I also had to utilize volunteers to make some of this stuff.
So people that have no skill or training in building anything, not even a Lego set. Dude, and you had to trust them to hammer a nail correctly.
So I left a lot of like my sanding and like lean and like stuff. I'm like, you can't mess this up to them. Um,
Listen, it's like the dad. It's like the kid holding the flashlight for the dad. It's just like you can't mess this up, but somehow, some way, they find a way.
oh yeah, and they would, they did, but and we were able to make it up and fix it. But that was like that's the crazy part about that show. Is like, you're right. Speed and quality do not mix unless you want to pay $1 bazillion for it.
Right.
And that was not the gig on that one. I wish it was, but
Right.
we made it work. But it's a blast, man. It's a blast doing it.
How is it meshing with different creatives and builders? How is that? I know it's kind of like, I almost think of it similar to sports, where it's like you have your prima donnas who have been there for 13 different shows, and then you have a new guy coming in like yourself, bright-eyed, ready to go with new ideas. How did you balance that? Like, how did you make sure not to infringe on someone else's creativity, but also have your voice heard at the same time?
Yeah, I'd say I just waited my turn a lot of the times. Right off the bat, there's for sure those like alpha type designers and artists that we work with that are, this is what we're doing, this is no negotiation,
This is how we do it.
Yeah, and I tried to just kind of run with that and just say, okay, that's fine. Like, this is your project.
Right.
And I tried to, and that was when I was having to collaborate with like other artists and designers, right?
Right.
And where I tried to build that reputation is on the projects that I got to design and plan and build myself.
Right.
Speaking through those projects, like them being on time, them being complete, doing crazy stuff, but also making it look super, super good and clean. That's kind of how I've been able to manage more or less expectations and like that, like puffed up, like territory type in the world of art and shows. Because some of them, I mean, and to be honest, some of them do have some amazing ideas, but they might not fit the timetable of like the show needs, and
right.
So being in the TV world now for a couple of years, like it's really kind of been able to like, I'm able to pitch more ideas and help other artists kind of see more what is reality versus that artist brain that we all have. I'm able to like kind of tone it back to like, okay, but what we don't have
to make this look cool. Let's just get to that part of making it look cool. We might not be able to do a fountain in every room, but let's put a fountain somewhere. Like, I get it. Yeah, totally.
Or it's like, as artists, like even in my pieces, like there's lots of nuanced meaning and selections and layout and all those things, right? Like,
yeah.
In the TV world and artists that I've worked with, that there's not necessarily a time for that. And it doesn't mean your art is worse. Like, and that's what I came to terms with. I was like, just because I don't have all these little things doesn't mean that it's like not real art. Like, it's just a different style of art for me. And so it still looks freaking awesome. It's still one of a kind, and it ultimately gets given to someone or is, on a show or on TV or whatnot. And it's just like a different form of art, which I never expected really to be in that world, actually.
Yeah.
Especially coming out of school.
Right. Because it's like in school, we're learning how to get into art galleries, not be on TV and making these other people's dreams come true.
Yeah. And it's still art. Like
yeah, it is.
It's still art, and it's still skinny art. Like, that's really all it is,
right.
And I think that's what I really love just about being making what I make is like, I'll make anything. Like,
right. Dude, speaking of make anything, let's talk about this. This is a crazy segue, but speaking of making anything, what about this functional art furniture, the hanger? I was like, this looks like a kid's hanger. I swiped again. It is a kid's hanger. So what is going on with this custom hanger that you came up with?
Yeah, man. So again, like, I don't turn down anything. Like, oh, I turn down stuff, but like,
Right.
I'm not we're not afraid to like go after like,
Right.
crazy, right?
Mhm.
Because I love it. It's the challenge. It's the artistic wheels. Like, that's how they spin in my head. Is like, and I've noticed for a long time that like functional art is something that I'm really passionate about, and I would love to do more of, or interactive art.
Yeah.
That kind of concept. And so yeah, I was approached by Soul Mason, their kids clothing brand, and they're amazing. They're local to LA. Clothes are handmade in Japan, and it's super good quality. And so they were looking for just a unique way to shoot their product.
Right.
And this star is something that is like pretty heavily themed within their brand and clothing.
Uh-huh.
And so I was talking with Lindsay, the CEO, and she was like, I really want to use like the star, but I don't know how to do it. I was like, all right, well, let's just take a crack at it. So we came up with some ideas, and I pretty much just like started grabbing hangers from my kid's closet, like measuring them, and then like, okay, how do I put a star in here that looks normal and then functions? But so a couple test off, made them out of wood first because the acrylic is expensive.
Yeah. Very much.
Try to save some money right there. But yeah, man, it was like a really fun challenge because like hangers are not really something that you think of when you
people pay attention to.
But
So that
with this one they do. And like it's so cool because in a way it's like having a focal point in a painting, right? Like you've got a contrast in color or a light and dark.
Yeah.
So it was like, I was like, why not just do that with like a hanger? Like the clothes amazing, but people just like read it's clothes, right?
Right.
It's clothes. Everyone sees it.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh shoot, where's that hanger? And then they stop to look at the rest of the outfit,
Got it.
That was kind of the goal behind it. It was like, okay, like how do we bring this in, tie it all together? And it's a fun color. Acrylic is right up my alley. I use a lot of it. Synthetic materials are just like fun for me to use. And yeah, they're awesome. We get a lot of requests for them, but they're not really the cheapest thing to make.
I believe it. When
you go to Target and get a 25 pack of hangers for $9.
Right. Absolutely. So when it came to this design process for this hanger, how much input did you actually have? Or was it more of they presented, hey, we have a hanger, we want to add a star, can you do this? Or was it more of a collaborative, working piece?
Yeah, no, it was honestly a request for me to design a hanger. They wanted like a custom hanger. And that's part of my process when working with clients is like, hey, like, okay, it's a hanger, but why make it custom? Right? Like that's the question.
Right.
Why spend the money, the energy to pay me to make this? Is it just like, what's the reason behind it? And that's where like a lot more of the information was like, that's where the star came into the picture of like, oh, well, we were thinking about a star, but we don't know how that becomes a hanger.
I see. Yes.
And so they reached out to me to kind of marry the two together and figure out how to make this work as a custom hanger. And so really it was like, okay, almost like they gave me a mood board, like an inspiration board from Pinterest.
Yeah.
Here you go. And based off of that, I pitched them a couple ideas and then it kind of just evolved as we talked. Okay,
Yes.
Design. Now let's talk function. What kind of clothes? Is it shirts? Is it dresses? Is it boys? Is it pants? How do we need to make this work? And that's where the functionality came into it. And again, utilizing like being able to work in multiple materials, making hangers out of MDF is
Right.
significantly cheaper and easier to modify than acrylic or metal.
Got it.
So that's kind of where that whole conceptualization collaboration kind of came from.
Oh, that's amazing, man. I was just like, this guy really can make anything. I was like, he is really out here just cooking, from hangers to houses to Barbie to soccer balls. I was like, this guy is pumping these pieces out. So
We're trying it.
yeah, I can tell, dude, because it's like, I see like every time it goes quiet on your Instagram, it pops up some project. It goes quiet on the Instagram, pops up a new project. I'm just like, oh, this man just stays busy. Like even though he may not be posting regularly, this man is constantly working.
Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, knowing how busy your schedule is and you're constantly working, you being a father, how have you found that balance of fatherhood and art? How have you worked that into life?
It has been a daily, weekly, monthly transition. I've got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. And they're at the point now that's different than when it was back then. When they're babies, like they go to bed at 7:00, and I could work in the evenings, and that was a big, easy kind of way to make it work.
Yeah.
I didn't need to like spend quality time with a 2-year-old because they're not really gonna remember it.
Yeah.
Like we did family stuff and like laid that foundation of like who they are and what our family's about and that quality time. But it wasn't like long blocks, right? Or like more complex things.
Right.
As the kids have gotten older, my son who is 6, he's actually super interested in making things. Like Legos for days is his jam. And, he hops into the shop with me, which has brought its own types of challenges as well, where my time now is spent a lot more with them. And so I have to plan a lot more on when I'm going to be in the studio, and when I'm going to be working on stuff and what I can actually take on, at a time, right? Like
right.
I can't take on, I shouldn't take on, 4 or 5 projects all at the same time. Cause I only got, a couple hours at night when the kids go to bed, or super early in the morning. And so my schedule is kind of shifted, to a couple hours each night, or every other night in the studio, which is usually like, work from 6 to 3 during the day.
Right.
I'm a family, my wife, my kids, from like 3:30 to 8:30, and then from like 9 to 11, 9 to 12. Sometimes if I'm on a roll, it's like 9 to 2, and then I'm just working the rest of the week.
Yeah.
It's been more of that, where it's like, okay, one project at a time, or it's Friday night to Saturday night. Like I'm just one whole day where I'm missing one day with the family, with the kids, but I'm pushing through and just knocking out a project, or a big chunk of project.
Got it.
So that it's been a challenge, bro. Like, my kids are second to my wife. Our relationship takes priority, and both relationships are, and also a piece of art. Like,
right.
You got to spend time on it, right? Like,
right.
I can't just ignore
You
it.
really do.
And hide in the studio, dude. Like, even though my mind is constantly thinking about, this piece and this piece, and like, I need material for this, or I want to do this, and I got to finish this. Like, it's not fair to them.
Right.
And then it draws into like, I get frustrated and then nothing works in the studio.
Right.
So it's a challenge, man, but it's been good. Like, I think I've learned a lot from my kids. just how to slow down, how to be intentional with like my choices, and they notice things about my art that I'm like, how do you even notice that? You know?
Right.
It's been really cool to see them kind of like start to experience my art, and to be excited to do art as well, which has been awesome.
That's good. That's so
Yeah.
good to hear, man. Have you noticed fatherhood or being a parent has it impacted your creative outlook?
I don't think so. And I say that only because like a lot of the stuff I make is really kid-like already.
True.
you, you know, like
Yeah.
playful colors, it's playful materials. The quality is like, I don't sacrifice that.
Right.
So like, I don't think it's, I don't know. That's a hard question, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think like, if anything has challenged me to like figure out how to introduce my kids to sculpture without the crazy tools and the crazy amounts of materials, the stuff that's above their age range, right?
Right.
So like, it's challenging me to work with more, not lower, for the sake of this conversation, like lower quality materials, which doesn't mean that they're just easier to manipulate for people.
Got it.
You don't need a table saw. You don't need the lathe, like all those crazy machines, like more with foil and wire and
clay and things like that.
Correct. Yeah. That's kind of where I've seen it more influence.
So have you gained any new source of inspiration? Now, because I remember you said when they were younger, it was very, you had to be on a schedule. And so it kind of, you had to work on that very tight schedule. But now that they're older and they can come in the studio and the shop with you, do you see any change in inspiration from when they were younger to what they are now?
I don't think I see any change of inspiration, mainly because there's just so many ideas that I have yet to even like, I've got sketched out and drawn that I haven't even friggin' gone into yet. Like I just,
okay.
Like I think the inspiration has been there just in general. I would say that like my son's entering Cub Scouts. That has been like, oh, I've never thought about like, how could Cub Scouts come into this?
Right.
Or like we're in the world of Pokemon right now, right? Like, dude, and that's like to my heart. I'm like,
right.
Why have I not done a freaking Pikachu or something?
Right. Out of wood.
Or out of something crazy. Like,
right.
So I guess, like I see those influences, like seeing like what my son and my daughter are into. I mean, the Barbie thing, my daughter is all into Barbies now. I've got to build her. She wants a Barbie bed, So that will be one of the things that shows.
You knew that was coming. You knew that was coming.
He wants a Barbie mobile bed that she can like climb on up, and I'm like, of course I'm gonna make it because who's making those things? So
right.
I think those are just like tied into like what they're liking and like where I'm at. Where they're at is kind of the inspiration that I'm seeing. But dude, like I said, there's just so many ideas that I'm like, dang, I need to do that and haven't done it yet.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I have a lovely little notebook I keep around me. It's around here somewhere that I have a pen that's stuck in it. And if I don't have that, you go to my notes file in my phone, all ideas. I'm so glad you can sketch in Apple now, because I'm sketching in my notes. Like, I don't know what exactly it looks like, but it's something like this. So I totally get that idea right there, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's one of those things where I'm like, and it's been great because with MLS, like obviously soccer balls or what you go to, but I've met some football players, some basketball players, and the first question is like, yo, can you do it out of footballs? And I'm like, originally it was like, no, because soccer balls are hexagons. And they don't fit perfectly. With the new soccer ball designs, they are not hexagons, and there's a lot more customization anyways. I think that's where a lot of newer work is going to start trying to that stuff.
I think I saw the I don't know if you finished it yet, but the Raven one. It was a Raven football one that you had started, and I thought that was very interesting because I was like, that's American football. It's not your traditional football. So how did that project come about?
Yeah, so that was, and you're right. It's actually a Falcons head.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The team involved on there is the Ravens. That came from meeting up with Mark Ingram at. He's a professional player, played for the Saints, Ravens.
Yeah.
And he was the one who was like, "Hey, like, have you made one out of football?" So I was like, "No, but I can." You know.
Yeah.
So ended up making that for him. And the teams that were included on it, you're right. I haven't posted it. I think I posted the in process thing of it, but it's three of the teams that he played, the three teams he played for, and the Falcons head, being that he was primarily a Saints player, the Falcons head represented like their crosstown rival being the Atlanta Falcons. So mounting your rival's head on the wall type deal. But yeah, that was the first one with footballs. And I realized like actually footballs are a lot easier because they are like longer pieces of material and there's a lot less pieces to make versus like this guy has, 8 soccer balls and they're 32 pieces each. So
wow. Ooh, yeah. That was a labor of love right there. 100%.
So I'm excited. I've got and this is just because of you, and we're on this right now. I've got a Kobe Bryant piece that I'm going to be working on, I think, mixing like wood, basketballs, and soccer balls all together. So I'm hoping to finish that one soon and get going on who knows when that.
Man, that I have to see that one. I have to see that one. That's going to be beautiful, man. Oh my goodness, a Kobe piece with wood in the back. Oh, that's going to be dope. I just know it's going to be dope. Oh man, but Scott, my man, I appreciate you being on here, but there's one thing I got to ask you, man.
Okay.
I noticed the ring on your finger as a big cross. So how does your faith influence your creative process?
Yeah, man. I wear a ring for that reason. Is one, I'm always working with my hands, right? Like,
right.
Typically, if my face isn't in the video on Instagram or whatever, it most likely my hands are in it, right? Because I'm doing something. My faith is integral to who I am. I truly believe that the Lord created me with the gift of creativity. Not the gift as an artist, like the gift of creating, right? Like what God did in the first 7 days, which he created, which is bringing something out of nothing, right? And so that concept of bringing something out of nothing is is the way my mind works. Is like, I see something and I'm like, oh, but what about this? That doesn't, like, let's do it out of this material or this, or someone says something and it's like, oh no, but we should do it like this. It's coming up with creative, like that's what creatives do, right?
Right.
And so I wouldn't be the same person without the Lord in my life. My that's a whole nother story and I'd love to share it sometime. But like in terms of my creative process, I find I'm the closest in my relationship with the Lord when I'm in the studio creating. I feel the best about myself, my mind. I'm constantly able to like just thank him for who he is, how he's created me, how he's created this world, and that I've been able to do the things that I've been able to do, because I would have never guessed that I would be doing the stuff that I'm doing right now.
Right.
And I mean, I'm just praying and hoping that there's more to come. And I think there is. And I've seen, as of like, hindsight being 2020, right? I look back and I see God's hands in what he's prepped me, the sports I've played, the people I've met, the way I functioned in school,
Mhm.
down to like how I go to sleep, dude. Like,
Okay.
I can just lay down. It drives my wife insane. I lay down, roll over once, and I'm out, and I'm asleep for like don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
and so like that as an artist is like super helpful because like there's some nights where you're like
You're wide awake.
you're crashing at 3 a.m. and you got to get
Right.
at 4, like
Mhm.
you spending 30 minutes trying to fall asleep, like
Right.
you
Right.
know,
No, I know that for a fact.
yeah. So I just see like God's definitely has put me on this path, and like I don't think it's done, and I don't think it's not for the name of Skinny to be known, dude. It's like I'm constantly asking, like, okay, how can I talk to people about him?
Mhm.
And I think that's what I love about art, dude, is that like people don't like if you bring up like the Lord in art, people don't like just like do this.
Shut it off. Yeah.
No, like they're like, oh, okay, cool. Like I'll listen to you. And
Right.
I'm like, dude, what other platform do you have nowadays that doesn't like instantly cancel the conversation
Right.
when you bring up the Lord? So, I just, he's the deal, man. He's the
Yeah.
artist, man, and like he made me and you, and dude, we're freaking dope. So
Yeah.
it's
That's amazing, man. That is a very like clear and thought out like answer right there. Cause I was listening to it and I was like, wow, he is the ultimate creator. He created us. He's the ultimate artist. Like exactly what you said. But so before I let you go, are there any other like specific like values or principles from your faith that help in your, decision to tell these stories through these different forms of art?
yeah, a big core to who I am, and again, this is part of just my story is like, speaking truth.
Mhm.
And which is kind of funny because it's like the pieces, especially like the art pieces, the animals, there's a lot of like little details in those that are about hiding who you are. And so the speaking truth for me really just has influenced like my choices on what I'm going to create,
Mhm.
the story I'm going to tell, and that it includes the Lord in it, because it's really easy for me to not like, like when you're getting accolades for anything as an athlete, it's like, the question is like, or the concept is always like, good job, you did this. And that's the
Yeah.
same art. It's like, yo, you made that. You're awesome. You're doing this show. You're awesome. And it's like,
Right.
no. Like I have to constantly.
You have to give props to who helped you get there.
Correct.
Man.
So when people recognize my work or want to do something, like it's like, no, like the Lord is what brought me to this point, and dude, he can take it whenever he needs to. Like, and if I'm not serving him, then it's not worth it,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, when I'm making stuff, it's like, it's not about like what I can be known for. It's like, I want my art to people to recognize my art for the quality, regardless of the material, and the effort and the intentionality on stuff, and just the story that comes with it, of it being, gifted and trying to just be like the creator, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that is just an awesome way to just end this wonderful podcast. You guys, thank you for taking your time out to listen. My name is Justin Robinson. My guest today was Scott Kinney. This is Art School Graduate Podcast. We'll check you next time. Peace.
See you guys.